What's up, everyone? Welcome to today's video. Welcome to the Video Game Fi School channel. Thank you very much for tuning in. Pardon my voice, I'm recovering from a cold, and it's been a very fun time to just sit back and watch what's been going on the internet. Now, seeing my video, you already see the information on here. Console performance for Evil West and PC performance, and not only that, the reaction from the internet follows as well. This is something that I think a lot of people have not really paid very close attention to. So what I want to do is, as much as I might be somewhat hard on my criticisms of some of these criticisms, I also want to be sensitive to people who may only be able to afford just these other, machines that are probably not going to be playing the game at the max settings. So some people, I understand that right now all you have is an Xbox One or a PS4. Wonderful. Evil West is going to run on these platforms. They're going to run at 30 FPS, which I'm sure you're probably not worried about. If you have a Series S or Series X, it's going to run on a 60 FPS performance mode. If you don't want performance mode, you can keep it on 30 FPS 2160. If you have a Series S, it's going to run at 30 FPS 1080p. This has also caused another ruckus. This team just also released a Plague's Tale, and they released it at 30 FPS for the best performance. They also gave an unlocked mode, which is supposed to run at 40 FPS, but apparently, based on the very first set of preliminary testing, was not hitting the 40 FPS. Now, recently, Digital Foundry did an analysis of the performance and optimization improvements, but I have not watched that video. I wanted to take some time to watch it, and I think it released today. So kind of putting it on the back burner to watch that very carefully. Now, here's the thing a lot of people have not come to reconcile with, and I already have reconciled with it as somebody who now games on PC, but also have the Series X, not S, and a PS5. I've come to look at the limitations of the consoles from a much more experiential perspective and also moving into some more of the technical sides. There's not a lot of technical information that tells us the real comparisons for the consoles and for PCs in terms of how video games run and are optimized on both of them. See, that's a very big difference. There's only one big major review that was done by Gamers Nexus where they came out with the conclusion that the PlayStation 5 was basically a 2015 mid-range machine and having just ray tracing as its major difference. So all of the expectations that people are expecting from the PlayStation 5, like this commenter here under this video said, "Thanks for letting me know to not get your game. Why did I buy a PS5? To enjoy games played at the highest performance possible. This is unacceptable." Bro, have you ever heard of the RTX 4090? That would probably be what you need to play games at the highest performance possible, not a PlayStation 5. Have you ever heard of an RX 5800 X3D? If you want to play a game at the maximum possible version, that's a CPU that will probably give you a good performance for any game that you're running. This is a conversation that needs to be had. This is a conversation that we need to put out there because Microsoft and Sony sold people a machine, and on the box they wrote 4K 120 FPS. I read both boxes because I have both boxes. But guess what? I read the fine print too. The fine print says on software that is supported. You see, this is how they got you. They made you buy this big old machine thinking that every single video game is going to be vanilla. Now they've pitched you against your own developers that are making fun video games for you. So let's do away with the marketing and the debris, and let's see if we can get down to what exactly is going on here. Now, Gotham Knights released just a few weeks ago. It was met with heavy criticism. Now, all of the criticisms regarding the gameplay and stuff we'll put aside because preferences are different. Right now, the game is sitting at a 72% positive rating on Steam, basically beating Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 by almost 20% in terms of favorability. So it's all about player perspective, and COD is actually the biggest selling game right now, even though more players hate COD than actually like COD, according to the reviews. Isn't that crazy? But go back and look at it, you'll see that the biggest problem for a lot of people was performance. The game admittedly ran very weird, still runs super weird, but the developers came out and said, this is why. Our game is not so simple because of our open world, the way we've done things. We don't have a 60 FPS performance mode on console. This made people beat them on the head, saying they were lazy. Even these developers here from Focus Entertainment are now being called lazy, even though when the Plague Tale came out, many people didn't say anything at that time because it came out with Gotham Knights, which was quite surprising. A lot of people complained about the 30 FPS on Gotham Knights, or the 5-frame drop on Gotham Knights almost killed people, whereas the 30 FPS and a Plague Tale, nobody said anything was wrong with it. And so it got down to the point where I started wondering, why are a lot of console players snobbing the 30 FPS game? I think it's because it's a lack of understanding for many people that, number one, a lot of these games have been in development years prior. If, say, at the time of the release of the PlayStation 4, the PlayStation 5 and Series X 2 years ago, these developers were already advanced in their game. For them to go back and start to reconfigure and rebuild their whole game to take advantage of the full console would be unrealistic. So they pushed on with their development, targeting the consoles at the time they were developing, and then decided that they were going to go ahead, maybe sometime in the last final year, to basically try to scale the game to get you a 60 FPS performance mode. This is a sensible logistical thing to do. These developers at Focus are not babies. They've developed and touched a lot of video games. So for people to be saying things like this is just lazy development or lazy optimization and all of that stuff, if you scroll through the comments, you're going to see these armchair developers pretty much that do nothing but sit down and criticize developers like if you were given the same opportunity, you'd do better. They're over here talking about this particular nonsense, which I cannot let this slide, ladies and gentlemen. I've been in the front of this conversation for a while, and optimization is a very tricky thing. Now, let's cue in the God of War conversation, because I know someone's going to go ahead and say, well, God of War, Horizon Zero. Folks, these are games that are basically tracked for one SKU of consoles. The developers have all the focus, all their energies, building and developing their video game for one specific console. This is why Sony, their publisher, goes on to get other studios to do PC ports. Not every publisher nor studio has those resources at hand. So when Nixxes is making the Spider-Man ports, this is exactly why, so that their main studios can just focus on their exclusives, and it gives them the very best quality because they know the machine they're working with, they know the engines they're working with, and everything, the process is fine-tuned. But now you come to the multi-plat development where you got to develop for PC of different kinds. You got to develop for your Xbox Series S, your Xbox Series X. If you're going to be doing cross-platform, God help you, because you're now developing for the Series X as well, for the old consoles or whatever the heck it is I'm talking about. I don't even know what I'm even saying at this point because there's so many of them. Then now you're in a logistical place. And I think for those who are really concerned about, say, maybe playing on a machine that will give you the best possible quality, like this comment over here, there is a place for you to get that. Where it is going on PC. Now, the conversation is not here to demean anybody who cannot play the game on PC. I don't think that's my goal. I think that's a whole separate video. The thing is, your consoles by nature will have limitations. There are three major limitations that comes to mind. Number one is the price. Number two is the design. And number three is just, if you go to the technical side, you don't really have the scientific capability of pushing out all this performance. For those of you who may or may not know, technological advancements have not really gone too far. If you look at, say, a GPU, like the RTX 3090 Ti, compared to the RTX 40 series or 4090, what you're going to realize is the 40 series is actually bigger. Do you know why? For the most part, they've added a lot of cooling mechanisms to be able to make sure that this device runs without putting out excessive heat. Your consoles don't even have enough ventilation space, even if they had the machine power, to be able to run a lot of these games in a stable way. Yet, somebody can build a, in quote, potato PC, for one, and be able to cool it very well and get some real good performance push out of it. Because already the paradigms are there. The established technology of PC in terms of, say, CPUs and GPUs are already known within development circles for a long time. So when you actually follow the way this progression goes, you're going to realize that a lot of your consoles at this point are not going to be there just yet. $500 for a device, sure, it may be a device that you think is going to be able to do all this stuff, but probably not really, because a PC can, by, I don't know how else to put it, by all definitions, outwork a console in many cases. So when you look at the minimum requirements on PC for EvoWest, and even look at, say, the recommended requirements, you're going to see something really strange. On PC, the minimum requirements are basically the console, the PS4 requirements. This is basically almost what a PS4 is. A 2500K, PS4 might be a little better than this. A 6300X AMD, 3.5 gigahertz clock speed. You think about the GPUs, a 750 Ti and an RX 460. The first computer that I built in 2016 cost me a little bit more than this after scrapping parts. So I basically took old computers, I got some hard drives out, and so on and so forth. But I was able to put together something for a very respectable price at the time. And I can understand that some people might say, well, a PC is not an option for me. I get it. But with that statement comes a lot of sacrifices that have to be made. It might mean that the PS5 Pro is not in your purview. It might mean that the next Xbox is not something you're going to be touching because you're prioritizing your performance in your gaming. This is what many PC players move to PC for more than anything else. Trust me, it'd be nice to be able to stay on console and get all of these benefits when it comes to our video games. But I don't think we really have that convenience just yet. Technology has not really caught up in terms of hardware. Now let's look at software, which is another thing that a lot of people brought up in this whole conversation on this thread. Some people said Unreal Engine 4 is an old engine. Some people said Unreal Engine 5 is going to come back and solve all our issues, blah, 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 blah. But ladies and gentlemen, I don't think it's that simple. I think there's actually much more here to be discussed. Now, when it comes to Unreal Engine, it's very funny because for those of you who watched that Matrix game, if you watched it, or if you played it on your Series X or PS5, I don't know if you knew, but that was actually running at 30 FPS. Now, why would it be running at 30 FPS for such a short, presentation? Well, I guess that's what it could run at that point in time. The more you require more graphics processing, the more you require, say, more CPU processing, the more you're going to actually need power to be able to run them. You're going to need heat control and heat dissipation. Until the consoles get more and more bulkier, we're probably not going to be seeing these performance numbers hit. And on PC, the generations are probably 4 to 5 generations ahead. People say it's 2 generations. Lies. It's more like 5. Because at this point, I'm telling you, from these numbers, you get to see that it's not really as simple as it is to be able to pump out 4K on every single video game, because it is just not as straightforward. Every single video game will have to take into consideration these machines when they're planning their development. So I'm not necessarily saying that these consoles are not 100% going to be able to hit that mark. I mean, I'm saying it, but I'm not saying it 100%. I'm saying it more like 70%. The 30%, what am I basically insinuating? What I'm insinuating is if somebody wants to develop a video game for a PlayStation 5, what they're going to have to do is build their game from ground up to harness everything within the PS5 and everything within the Series X. Right now, there are a few studios that can actually take out the time specifically to do all of that. And most of them are Sony-based studios. If you even think about it, studios like Insomniac are going to do it. They're going to make that PlayStation 5 run like butter in their titles, Spider-Man 2 and Wolverine. Don't be surprised if those games are running at like 120 FPS. But when it comes to other studios, man, you really got to take it. You really got to take into reality account what these other developers are dealing with. Put Insomniac and Sony Santa Monica in the same shoes. I wonder if they'll even be able to do what it is that they get to do. But I guess all scales are not necessarily the same. If somebody wants to go work on a focused-based developer, I guess they can take a job in an Xbox studio or a Sony studio if they're actually talented enough to get hired. But by and large, these are the exceptions, not the norm. So for those of you who are playing EvoWest, enjoy the game. I'm probably not going to play it just yet. It's something that I intend to do. Maybe, I don't know if I have time. I want to play Midnight Suns and some other games. But hey, if the game looks good, then definitely, if it's something you're looking forward to, enjoy it on the platform you're looking forward to it. But again, PC has the best pricing for the game, in my opinion. If you go through, the other marketplaces that will sell you regional-based price codes, you're going to get the best deals possible. And so this is just my spiel, and I hope your potato is ready to run Evil West. But let me hear your thoughts in the comment section. There's so much more to talk about. I guess I could stay here for 20 minutes, but it's not necessary. I already made my case. Talk to me in the comment section, and hopefully we'll talk pretty soon. Peace out.